Oh boy. The Boston Celtics are about to sleepwalk themselves out of the Eastern Conference Finals. Joe Mazzulla, when he opened the game last night, starting that small lineup, I said, God damn it, you didn't learn a goddamn thing in the last game. Well, I'm not going to get be too hard on Joe Mazzulla because, the guy is in over his head. He was in over his head from the beginning. But it's the organization's fault that Joe Mazzulla was in this situation to begin with. They had the messy situation in the beginning of the year where Ime Udoka was, sleeping with some executive upstairs, and they caught feelings and let the guy go. Now, whether you love or hate Ime Udoka, he was a culture builder. He rebuilt the culture over there in Boston, without a doubt. That's undeniable. Now, it was always kind of crazy to me that when you have a culture building entity coach like Ime was last year, it was crazy to me how the Celtics as an organization was so arrogant when it came to just moving on from him. They were just arrogant. They was like, well, we got a championship team. It's young. It's an up and coming. We could place anybody here. And, we could put anybody as the head coach and they should excel without a problem. I mean, this talent is going to coach itself. Uh-uh. That didn't work. That didn't work at all. It actually blew up in their faces. Their arrogance is the reason why the Celtics are in the situation they're in. It's their arrogance why the Celtics are actually underachieving. They're underachieving. They're going backwards. Now, we know why the Warriors went backwards. It was roster issues. They had a lot of roster issues. They opened the season with Draymond Green decking Jordan Poole in the face. And it turns out a lot of the people involved, a lot of the core group involved there, didn't really have an issue with him doing that. So, they opened the season, their issues were completely different from the Celtics, whereas the Celtics opened the season as a whole. I mean, they brought back the same team and enhanced it with Malcolm Brogdon in another piece. So that's why they were rated as high as they were rated to enter the season, and it's the reason why they was the number one seed for a while until they had lapsed toward the end of the season and fell into the number two seed. So for me, it's just simple, man. I'm not second guessing this. I seen this car crash happening a mile away. I was concerned to start the year with the lack of intensity in the Celtics games when they was losing against Orlando. They lost to Orlando 3 times. Three. They lost to the Rockets. They lost to Detroit. They lost to some teams, man, that they shouldn't have lost to this year. Just because, it's like, are we there yet? They have this are we there yet cocky arrogance or delusion about them that I just don't like. And it just carried on through the playoffs. Listen, they got this far off of pure talent. People forget this first iteration of this team went to the Eastern Conference Finals when Kyrie Irving was hurt that year. So, come on. This team is talented. They can stumble into an Eastern Conference Final at this point. Hell, the Toronto Raptors went to a few Eastern Conference Finals. Yeah, they kept losing to LeBron, but they were getting there. So, I'm not going to give these guys a Scooby snack because they make it to the Eastern Conference Finals every single season. You got to close at some point. You have to achieve to what we all expect you to achieve at. So, on to the game real quick. I mean, it's not much to talk about, but we have to bring up some points here. Jaylen Brown, the Miami Heat just took his soul. His soul was missing this entire series. He was terrible last game in game 3 last night, but he was awful in game 2 at Boston. He was a negative 24 in game 2 when he was on the court. A negative 24. This is your second best player, and he's a negative 24 at home when you're supposed to take control of the series. He was terrible in that game. And then you follow that on to being even worse in game three. He was negative 25 in game three. Like it's time to break up the law firm. Tatum and Brown have to end this practice and move on and create new practices. You've gone as high as you can go with this tandem. You've gotten to many Eastern Conference Finals, as I stated before, and you made a finals last year. And you've gotten to another Eastern Conference Finals this year, and you're coming up short. So the point is, you've reached the limit with this core group. You got to break it up. Al Horford's old ass got to go somewhere. Marcus Unsmart has to maybe potentially be moved. And Jaylen Brown. You can trade Jaylen Brown right now for some really good complementary pieces. Maybe some, an all-star player or two. I would try to get an interior player, someone that can live and play around in the paint. You need a versatile big. I don't know. I'm just saying what they need. I'm not going to say guys right now. This is off the top. They need, in my opinion, a flex big, someone who can score in the paint. Because clearly their best player, Jason Tatum, he don't want to be down there. He want to come up the court, dribble, and jack up threes. That's the whole team. They shoot too many goddamn threes. Jason Tatum, you shoot too many goddamn threes. And I've said this from day one. This is not new. You shoot too many threes. You're too big, too tall, and strong to be constantly living out on the perimeter. What are you doing? Get your big ass down there on the block. Now, clearly, all this time, we've seen enough. He don't want to be down there. He's a finesse player. Okay, that's fine. Now, you have to build on what his weaknesses are, or at least the things that he don't like doing, a la AD. And, AD for a while didn't want to live in the interior. The Pelicans built around it. And, Lakers did in the beginning. But now, we are where we are. But the point is, Tatum, he doesn't want to be in the paint. He doesn't want to be around there in the block, clearly. So what you need to do in the offseason is trade off some of these pieces and get some skilled big that can live down there for Tatum so Tatum could live out on the perimeter where he wants to be. And the ball handling days, bringing it up and down the court, yes, every now and then Tatum could do it. But it's not going to be a prerequisite. It's something that Tatum shouldn't be required to do. It's something that Tatum shouldn't have to do. Just bring your ass up the court. You don't need to bring it up, but you don't need to. Yeah, you could give it to him up top of the, key and all of that and distribute because he's good at that when it comes to him driving and kicking. But bringing the ball up full court, have the point guard do that. By the way, it brings up Malcolm Brogdon. Before Ime Udoka got caught sleeping around, Malcolm Brogdon was brought in. For what reason? He was brought in to be the goddamn point guard. The true point guard. Because Marcus Smart is not a goddamn point guard. Never was, never will be. But the Boston Celtics allowed Marcus to think he was a point guard. Marcus goes up and down the courts thinking he's a scorer. Listen, Marcus, at Oklahoma State, you were not a scorer. You made hay. You became the number 6 pick because you hustled and you was a goddamn dog. Those are your A-plus quality traits. Now, in these last 3 seasons, Marcus thinks he's a freaking point guard. He thinks he's a scorer. You're not a scorer. But it's not his fault. It's the Celtics' fault. It's the coach's fault for making him think that. No, Marcus, you need to focus on the small things and do those things at a great level, which he's capable of doing. But once he goes into hero ball, bringing the ball up the court, turning it over, doing things, he does too much. You got to make him step back. Coaching has to do that. Make Marcus step back and make Marcus focus on the things that he's great at, and that's defense. That should be his number one priority. I don't want to see Marcus Smart jacking up 15 shots a game or whatever the case may be. Why? We got scorers. We got enough scorers. Peyton Pritchard can't make the court because you got too many guards that want to shoot. Marcus needs to take less shots, in my opinion. But anyway, I want him traded anyway. But anyway, that's one issue. Second issue, Jimmy Butler, man. Jimmy, yo, this is why it drove me crazy that everybody was getting on Grant Williams for getting in Jimmy Butler's face. At least he got in Jimmy's face. Nobody else had the balls or the fortitude to even stand up for themselves in this series, except for Grant Williams, because Grant, like Jimmy, is a dog. He's a dog. The problem with Grant getting in his face was that Grant didn't have his teammates backing him up. Unlike Draymond Green, when Draymond Green do Draymond Green things, you know why Draymond continuously do those things too? Because he know he got some bad motherfuckers behind him that's going to have his back when shit hits the fan. Celtics did not have Grant Williams back. And he was left with all the cake on his face. All the memes, all the jokes, and all of that. It's cool, but it ain't cool. Because, the guy is the only guy on the team that showed some type of guts. And he's the one that's being made fun of. So, Grant Williams is the scapegoat in that situation. I didn't like that. But onward, listen, like I said, the team needs to be blown up. I think this is a great time to have this situation. If you want to look at it, glass half full, it's a great situation to be in because, hey, you're lucky because you got a bunch of coaches right now on the free agent market that is perfect. You have so many options, right? You have Budenholzer, you have Monty Williams, and you have my favorite to take over the Celtics job, Nick Nurse. Nick Nurse, I think, is perfect for the Celtics. He's what the doctor ordered. He's smart. He makes in-game decisions at an elite level, which they haven't had in a while. And he's been a coach of the year. And most importantly, he's a champion. He's a champion. That team over there now, they need a championship-type coach to say things to them. Because they got all the talent in the world. They made all the all-star teams, all the all-defensive teams, and defensive player team, six-mans. They got every damn trophy you can think of in that locker room. So they're not trying to hear, they're not trying to hear from too many coaches out there. It's not too many coaches that them young dudes probably respect. But they would respect the Nick Nurse because Nick has done a lot of things, and they do know how to coach. So I would go in that direction, honestly. But other than that, man, I feel bad for you guys, Boston fans out there. Listen, I'm a New England fan. I'm a Red Sox fan. And, Red Sox fan is trash. Red Sox right now are kind of floundering. I'm not going to call them trash. They're floundering right now. The Bruins, epic collapse. Celtics, epic failure. So it's not a good time to be a New England fan. Not a good time at all to be a Boston fan. So we'll heal together.